Hi, dear listeners, and welcome back to Blush and Bloom, the podcast where we talk about women's health, self care, and everything in between. I'm your host, Gigi, founder of Asale, your space for cycle aware and preventive care. I'm really glad you're here with me on this journey to unpack women's health and highlight the incredible things being built in this space. So let's get into today's episode. Hi, Hania. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast. So, for listeners who are meeting you for the very first time, how do you usually introduce yourself?
Hi, thank you very much for your invitation. It's a pleasure for me. First and foremost, I am the founder of Ouli, which is a Polish femtech startup where we focus on scar treatment after caesarean sections. I am also by education an industrial and UX UI designer specialized in the field of health tech, in the field of designing for medical purpose. And currently, I also pursue a PhD in biomedical engineering. So that's how I would introduce myself.
All right, that sounds very exciting, biomedical engineering, especially like now where everything is like there's so much advancement in technology. Like that sounds like a very, very interesting thing to be studying right now. So you wanted to add something? All right. So like what sparked your interest in combining design with healthcare?
I think that my story, I should start from the beginning, which the beginning is during my high school years. I always wanted to become a doctor, but unfortunately, among other things, I was afraid of blood. So I decided to look for a different possibility to help people in terms of improving their health, improving their quality of their lives. And I've decided to follow the path of a designer, that through designing solutions for medical purpose, we can also help others. So that's actually my story. What's led me to do what I do currently.
Right. That's really inspiring. And it's great that you still followed your passion. So did you always imagine yourself becoming a founder?
Not at all at the beginning, which for me, it was quite obvious that first of all, I was, and I am still an industrial designer, product designer. So when I came up with the idea of Ouli, I developed Ouli, and also at the same time, I developed myself as a founder. So it was quite natural process, let's say. It wasn't something obvious. It wasn't my dream to become a founder. It was the whole story that, first of all, I developed Ouli. I came up with the idea of Ouli. And at the same time, I also developed myself as a founder. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Okay, let's talk a bit more about Ollie itself. So what inspired you to like start it, especially like the niche that you're focusing on right now?
Okay, so maybe I should say a little bit more about Ouli at the beginning. So Ouli is a system that enables homemade scar treatment, especially after surgical procedures. So our system consists of two parts. First of all, we've got hardware part, which is a small device that enables patients to treat their scar at home. And we've got also software part that enables them to control the whole treatment plan and to change this treatment plan if needed. And also it enables to monitor it enables specialists to monitor the whole process of treatment. So that's the basically the idea of Ouli, briefly saying. And what led me to focus on this niche and to develop the whole system, to develop Ouli, was that came across unaddressed needs in this field. So when I was an industrial designer and I used to work as a freelance designer for medical companies and also medical startups, I had the opportunity to collaborate very closely with doctors, with medical specialists, physiotherapists, and that was how I came across the whole scar treatment field, let's say. And I realized that the level of awareness in this field is still very low. Many of us that actually we don't know that we need to treat our scars. We don't know, we aren't aware that scar can cause serious health problems, that it's not only a visual aspect, but first of all, it's something about our health. It's something about our functionality of our body. So I've started to I've dived deeper in this field, and I realized that there is a huge need, especially for women after caesarean sections, because caesarean section is one of the most invasive surgical procedures that we can undergo. Yes, and also that's the reason why the scar after this procedure can lead to serious health issues. So we decided to focus mainly on women after cesarean sections, also that because they need to take care about their newborns, they are not able to visit regularly physiotherapists. They are not able to take care about themselves, about their health in a way they should do it. So that's why we decided to create Ouli to help them take care of themselves.
Yeah, that's really insightful and very interesting because I only thought that like treating the scar was more for a visual point of view. I didn't know that there was more to it than this. So like okay, in general, like scar therapy after a C-section isn't, I don't think it's often talked about. So what made you focus on this gap in care? Like what made you like fully deep like do this deep dive and understand like okay, it goes beyond the visual point of view, like this there's more things that women should be aware of in this area.
You mean what made me focus not only about visual aspects, if I understand
Yes.
you well, but
Yeah.
yes. Okay, so the main reason is that if we focus only about visual aspect, can help women to feel more, to be more confident, to improve how they see themselves. But we don't help them in a way that we should, I mean, to improve their quality of lives, improve their health, because functional therapy, a functional scar therapy is about health, is about functionality of our body. So if we don't, if we like, why we need to undergo scar treatment, functional scar treatment, it is very important to undergo this process, the full scar treatment process, because if we won't do it, scar can cause, for example, adhesions, which are, it's a kind of tissue that grows between layers, between body layers, and it is responsible for keeping everything together, which is something that it is something that can cause further health problems, like, for example, tissue pulling, pain, things like this. So that's the reason why we need to treat our scar in a functional way, not only care about outer layer, because if we, for example, we use some, there are kind of silicone patches for scars, and we use them. For example, that's one method we can use. We improve only outer layer of our body, so we can improve the visual aspects like laser treatment, things like this. Removal, it's laser removal of a scar. So we can treat visual aspect, but if we want to take care about our health, we need to undergo functional therapy, which usually is currently is made by physiotherapists. So we need to regularly attend an appointment, and it's a long process that requires encourage for, like, we need to, first of all, it's time consuming, and the second thing is that it is quite expensive to undergo the whole process.
Right. I think this is really exciting that you're utilizing technology to make this as accessible to as many women as possible, because I guess this isn't something that's talked about enough. So this is so cool. So what have you learned about like the emotional side of healing after childbirth?
Actually, to be honest, the emotional aspect of healing is not something that affects only as much as, for example, the emotional aspect of pregnancy and in general period after, like, postpartum. I mean, that it's not something that we can say that. I can give you an example. For recently, we tried to reach our target group in a, or I can say, for example, I need to think for a while. Sorry.
Okay.
It's not because it's not an easy question. It's something that, for example, it affects the way we should communicate with our target group to make them willing, for example, to take part in our tests. That is something that we need to take into account. But it's not that postpartum is only one part of because scar treatment can take, for example, up to even 1 year. So we talk about a very long period of time. It's not only about postpartum. It's not only about this specific period, but obviously we try to reach out to our users, to our target group when women still are pregnant. So during their pregnancy, we face this emotional aspect, but it doesn't affect us as much. So yes, I think that's
Okay. And I like that I even asked this question because I didn't even know that it can last more than a year. That is very interesting.
Yes, it depends on various factors, to be honest. But, for example, it is said that average scar treatment after caesarean section can last, for example, about 6 months after a C-section. But then we've got various different types of groups of scars. For example, scars after mastectomy, scars after some cardiac procedures. So there are very different scars after various surgical procedures, which we still need to treat because they can cause serious health issues, the same as after cesarean sections.
Okay. So would you say that your product also goes beyond supporting women postpartum, that it can also like be useful for this other variations of scars that from other procedures as well?
That's our idea of scaling Ouli. We want to start with our first target group, which are women after cesarean section. Then we will move to our plan is to treat women after mastectomy as our second target group, and then we will scale for other groups of scars after surgical procedures.
Okay, that makes sense. And thank you for responding to that. So let's like move a little bit outside of your work at Ouli. And you've become a key voice in Poland's femtech space, which is really awesome. So how would you describe the landscape right
I think that I can start with my story. So how I developed Ouli in our ecosystem here. So I've decided when I started Ouli, femtech was something at its very early stage in Poland. I still think that it is. It's the situation is getting much better, but still femtech in Poland is something on its very early stage. But I've decided to reach out to femtech communities, to femtech experts all over the world. And that helped me a lot to develop Ouli. So thanks to those experts and those communities, for example, in the UK, where femtech is very strong, or France, places like this, I was able to implement, let's say, their feedback, their knowledge, their expertise to developing Ouli. So, and also that led me to idea of creating such femtech community in Poland, which I still try to do. So through organizing some events, through inviting femtech startups to attend some medical events, and this way I try to foster growth of femtech in Poland.
That's really awesome and exciting work that you're doing. All right. So, from your point of view, what do you think are the attitudes around postpartum care? Are they shifting, or is it still? Do you still think it's a taboo topic?
It depends. I think that it depends on a specific aspect of postpartum and in general of the whole process. But overall, I would say that it is still a taboo, and it is still something that we don't talk about. And I think that we should talk more about this specific period of women journey as a new mother, because it's also very important both from physical and mental aspect. Yes, I think that it's still more a taboo than something that we regularly talk about. And When it comes to my journey at Ouli, I think that I've came across various experts, and I think that based on what they say, I think that the average, like the awareness of our society is shifting. Like we can say that something is changing, that it's getting better. I think that yes, it is still a taboo.
Okay. I think I can understand that. Do you think that also has to do with, say, social media and the way that the world is more connected now than before, where people are more open about these topics? Like, what do you think is the reason why people are like making the effort to like have these discussions more? Say, like the femtech community you're building in Poland as well. Maybe that's also contributing to having these discussions. Like, what do you think on this?
I'm not sure if I get you right. I think that when it comes to things connected with women's health, it is still a topic that obviously as femtech startups, we talk about this field, let's say in general, a lot.
Mhm.
So those we are companies, we are people to that can make it something that we can shift the awareness, we can make it more something more common, something that everybody understands, because it is something that should be normal. It is something that should be something obvious, to be honest.
I agree. Okay. So you have a background in industrial design and UI UX. So how does this help you approach building health products differently alongside even your PhD in uh biomedical engineering? Like, are you able to like combine all these things? Like, how do you feel like it changed your perspective and helps you see things differently?
I think that for me, it was much easier to become a founder and to create my startup, because for industrial designers, generally for designers, the whole process of developing things is something very natural. So I think that for me, it was very easy to switch to becoming a founder, to start developing my own product, my own company. In a way, I used to develop others' products. So I can say that I implemented my approach to design, to creating my whole startup. And I think that for industrial designers, their approach to the process, to also to getting and giving feedback, which is something very important. Openness for feedback, receiving it, and learning from feedback. That's the most important thing. It is something very natural for designers. And I think that it helped me a lot in my journey at Ouli. I don't think that I wouldn't say that it's a totally different approach. But for example, I can say that I see it from other examples that it was easier for me than, for example, for founders with financial background. They've got this background can help them in different fields, obviously, but not in a field connected with product and developing this product, which is at a very early stage of startup very important. The whole concept, the whole product thing.
That makes a whole lot of sense. And you already have like experience building these things and getting the feedback, like you said. So that's like a very important part of
Yes.
rating a product. So that's really cool. So speaking of feedback, how do you balance what your users want versus what you know that they're going to need? Have you ever been in this situation where you need to like, yeah.
Okay, so I think that when it comes to medical products, when it comes to products that we design to help our health or in general our lives, I think that especially at the very early stage, the most important is feedback from experts, from medical experts, from doctors. Okay, so experts from doctors, experts from the field of physiotherapy, and I think that is something very important when it comes to medical startups, when it comes to medtech products. And feedback from users, I don't say that feedback from users is not important at a very early stage of a startup, but it's something that I would say is less important than feedback from medical experts, as First of all, our product needs to be useful, needs to be functional in a way. I mean that it needs to improve our life, our health. Or, for example, as we've got at Ouli, needs to simulate technique used by physiotherapists during manual treatment. So the most important at early stage was for us feedback from our experts.
Okay, that makes sense, especially considering the nature of your product. It does make sense that you have to prioritize feedback from those professionals first and then iterate further after that. Makes sense.
Yes.
Right. So what's been the biggest challenge so far from taking your medical device from concept to market and testing it with users?
It's a very hard question. We had a lot of different challenges in various fields, in various stages of our journey. Currently, I would say that we faced a few challenges when it comes to first batch of our devices, manufacturing first batch of our devices. So we had to think of various methods because it is not so easy when you want to scale your startup as quick as you can, and you still need to iterate. We want we are not at currently, our stage is not like a regular production of regular devices. So we had to think of methods, we have to think of technologies that we can utilize at our current stage to be able to manufacture our prototypes appropriate amount of our devices at this stage and still iterate, so still implement some changes. So it is I think the biggest challenge currently for us, and we are trying to solve it.
That's really exciting. I can't wait for you to go over this hurdle and continue and more women learning about your product, because I think it's very, very important for more women to learn about this. A common thing I've had in this with previous speakers on this podcast is I've been constantly learning something new that I didn't know before, such as learning from you right now that a scar is just beyond the aesthetic treatment, that there's more to the treatment there. So from building Ouli and from your interactions with other femtech founders, what's something that you learned that was completely new to you that you wish other women knew about?
I think that what I would recommend, for example, other female founders or other femtech founders, is that building strong network helped me a lot to develop Ouli farther and quicker at the beginning, because our idea was to bootstrap as long as we to develop Ouli utilizing only available resources for us. So I think that what I would recommend is to build strong network as quick as they can, because it is something very useful when you want to
Okay, that makes sense. And also, for when you say the network, do you mean specifically connecting with other femtech founders or connecting with more women in the community who are willing to test out products, or
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, I tried everything. I mean that I just tried to reach out to various people that I found interesting, and I thought that we might have some touch points, let's say. So I tried everything because I think that through conversation we can learn, we can develop ourselves, we can feedback from others, we can basically we can learn, and it is something very useful when you build a startup. So yes, I think that, for example, I reach out to various femtech communities, to various femtech experts, medical experts too. So yes, building a strong network in terms when you develop something for health, dedicated for health, building strong network in generally in the field of medicine, in the field of medtech is very important.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. I think I can also take that advice as well. So we are tending towards the end of the podcast. So we have a few questions left. So if you could tell a new mom one thing about scar care or healing after birth, what would that be?
First of all, I would say that I would recommend them to attend to start scar treatment as quick as they can. So that's the thing I would recommend, because women usually they care and it is something natural and obvious that they care mainly about their newborn, while it is also very important for their future health to take care about their scar at the specific moment, because when scar is getting older and older, it is harder to treat it properly. So that's the reason why it is very important to start during postpartum, during this period, to start treatment. Can you repeat, please? Okay, 15. Yes, 15. So me from the past. Because unfortunately I am older than 50. I would say to her that she should follow the path that she feels that she feels comfortable with. I mean that during my teenage years, as I've mentioned, that I always wanted to become a doctor, and it wasn't something for me, definitely. So I think that I would say to her that following your path is also fine, and sometimes it is much better than trying to stick with something that you thought at the first, like at the beginning, that is for you. And if you have signs that something is not for you, just follow what you want and what you feel, because it can bring something very interesting or something even better than you thought.
And other details.
Thank you very much for this question. So you can find me on LinkedIn, obviously, and you can also follow our social media, always social media, Facebook, Instagram, also LinkedIn, and we've got also website, which is www. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me too.
Hi again. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Blush and Bloom. I'm so glad you joined me for this conversation. If you found it helpful, please share this episode with a friend or someone who might need it. Let's keep talking about women's health and working towards better outcomes for all of us. You can find more episodes and resources at www.asale.tech and check out our app at www.asale.health. And you can follow us for more updates on Instagram at asale.tech. Until next time, I'll see you in the next episode. Take care and bye-bye.